Hello, boys and girls. Today, we are going to talk about laws, rights, and responsibilities. Citizens have rights, or special things that people are allowed to do. But rights do not allow people to do whatever they want. Of rules that protect people and the things they own. In the United States of America, citizens have freedom of speech. People have the right to talk about important things and share their opinions. But they still have to obey the laws. It is part of a citizen's responsibility to follow the law. A responsibility is a duty, or something that people must do. Citizens also have the right to buy the things that they need or want. They cannot just take them. That is against the law. Laws help citizens live safely and fairly with one another.
Of mass destruction, the missiles are on the Lord's band. They're pointed at every nation. Time gets shorter. Creeks of guns and ammo from country to country. They go.
What is going on, everybody? Today I was going to talk about cancel culture because there's so much of that's going on today. But this thing popped up in my newsfeed about this new Breathe Act. And it just went to the floor today. And it's put on by the squad is doing this. So they I got it up and I'm going to go through it. But first I want to talk about the legislation that could have been passed already like 3 weeks ago that Republican Tim Scott put forth. I don't know if you know who Tim Scott is. He's a black guy, Republican, and he's been working on a reform bill for a long time. Now, this is a guy who's a senator, and I'll let him speak for himself. Back in June, like 22nd, they were trying to pass a reform bill, and the Democrats completely shut it down. Wouldn't even talk about it. They just shut it down. They said it's not enough, and it's going in the wrong direction, and blah, 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 blah. They threw out all this other stuff. It's disgusting, man. Disgusting. But this is Tim Scott talking on the floor. I'm gonna let this play out because it's important. It's important to hear what this guy had to say. 3 weeks ago, they could have had stuff done. But because this is an election year, they don't want to make the Republicans look good. So they didn't even, from what I understand, what I read, they brought it to the floor, and the Democrats were like, well, there's like 5 things in here we don't like. And they're like, okay, well, we'll give you 5 amendments. And they said, no, wait. There's like 20 things in here we don't like. So they went, okay, so we'll give you 20 amendments. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's start talking about this. And they walked out on them. They walked out. Wouldn't even talk. Because they can't have a Republican-sponsored bill to solve the problem. And I'm going to show you what they just came up with and what they're putting on the floor right now. And wait till you see it. But here's Tim Scott.
Be here if it were not, as Senator Perdue alluded to, the death of yet another African-American man, George Floyd. His murder is why the country has given us the opportunity to lead. And my friends on the other side just said no. Not no to the legislation. They just said no. You see, this process is not broken because of the legislation. This is a broken process beyond that one piece of legislation. It's one of the reasons why communities of color, young Americans of all colors, are losing faith in the institutions of authority and power in this nation, because we're playing small ball. We're playing for those in the insulated chambers. We're playing for presidential politics. That's small ball. Playing the big boys game is playing for the kids who can't represent themselves. And if you don't like what you see, change it. What, pray tell, is the problem? Well, I finally realized what the problem is, Mr. President. The actual problem is not what is being offered, it is who is offering it. It took me a long time to figure out the most obvious thing in the room. So I realized finally, it's the who that's offering this. Now, I have dealt with the problem of who before. As a black man, I get the who being the problem. It's one of the reasons why I went to Senator McConnell and said, I want to lead this conversation. I'm the person in our conference who has experienced firsthand racial discrimination, racial profiling by law enforcement, and I'm still a fan because I believe that most law enforcement officers are good. But I'm the guy. I am your guy, Mitch, because this is my issue. This is an issue for every poor kid growing up in every poor neighborhood in this nation who feels like when I leave my home for a jog, I might not come back. This is a serious issue. This is an issue for every single kid who says, is this my country? We've heard no. This is the issue that we should be solving. Not the legislative issue. That's not the issue. The issue is, do we matter? We had an opportunity to say, you matter so much, we'll stay on this floor for as long as it takes and as many amendments as it takes for us to get to the issue that says, yes, you matter. But we said no today. We were 4 votes short of saying yes to having a powerful tool of pulling resources to compel behavior on chokeholds. Because I believe if we've gotten on the bill, we would have passed this bill. But that is the problem, by the way. That's the who I'm talking about. See, as a black guy, I know how it feels to walk into a store and have the little clerk follow me around, even as a United States Senator. I get that. I've experienced that. I understand the traffic stops. I understand that when I'm walking down the street and some young lady clutches onto her purse, and my instinct is to get a little further away because I don't want any issues with anybody. I understand that. But what I missed in this issue is that the stereotyping of Republicans is just as toxic and poison to the outcomes of the most vulnerable communities in this nation. That's the issue.
It gets better. It gets better. The rhetoric and the vitriol. It's just unbelievable. I mean, I can't show it all to you today because I got other things to get to. But yeah. Listen to what Nancy Pelosi had to say about this.
Have to face the realities of police brutality, the realities of the need for justice in policing, and the recognition that there are many, many good people in law enforcement, but not all, and that we have to address those concerns. So when they admit that and have some suggestions that are worthy of consideration, but so far they were trying to get away with murder, actually. the murder of George Floyd.
There is.
Can you believe that? You know, that 8-year-old little girl that just died, that just got murdered down in Atlanta last week, Nancy, that blood is on your hands. And Schumer's hands. And Dick Durbin's hands. It's all on your hands. You're covered in that 8-year-old girl's blood. Because you couldn't do something 3 weeks ago. You had to wait for the squad. These bunch of nutbag crazy chicks. That's who you're waiting on. You couldn't get something done 3 weeks ago and stop this nonsense. Well, one of the things I saw was Senator Kevin McCarthy was talking about this. And that's kind of how I found out, because I saw his speech and it was pretty good. So I'm showing you the difference between the Democrats and the Republicans at this point. The Republicans want to do something. The Democrats won't let them. So take it for what it's worth.
I want to find places we can agree. I want to make law. Contrast to how Speaker Pelosi responded to Senator Tim Scott's bill. She said Republicans are trying to get away with murder. The murder of George Floyd. Tim Scott has not been working on this bill just for 1 month. This has been a life passion of Tim with his own personal life experience. That's why he found his success when opportunity zones are funding of black colleges. Her words are reprehensible. This is actually a new low for Speaker Pelosi when it comes to just trying to score points with her newly radical base. Think for one moment, this is the Speaker of the House of Representatives. The job of Speaker is too big for words so small. Does anyone in her conference stand by her on these words? Do they call Tim Scott wanting to get away with murder? Contrast what happened in the Senate yesterday. Simple request to get on the bill where you could start debating to become law. Democrats said they would need amendments. First 5 was going to be good enough, no. Went as far as to offer 20 amendments just to start the debate. Contrast to what we see here. From committee to floor, not one Republican amendment is going to be allowed. Never consulted us on the creation of this bill. I've reached out to those on the Democrat side, explaining that I wanted to make law. I wanted to work together, and I still do. The only place this is a holdup is the Democrats' partisanship to try to make this political.
Colors, nice picture of a young black woman on there. This is what the front page says. The BREATHE Act is presented by the Electoral Justice Project of the Movement for Black Lives. Now, right there, it already tells me, the Movement for Black Lives. Is this part of Black Lives Matter? I don't understand, because it's something different. Don't you would think it would put Black Lives Matter on there, but it's another, just a different project, I guess. This visionary bill divests our taxpayer dollars from brutal and discriminatory policing and invests in new vision of public safety, a vision that answers the call to defund the police and allows all communities to finally breathe free. All right, so in honor of the lives of those stolen by police in state-sanctioned violence, Breonna Taylor, Tony McCabe, George Floyd, blah, blah, blah. I'm not sure. I don't know. I can't remember if all of these people are black or not. I don't know. But it's the thing. We are rising up against all the ways that criminal legal system has harmed and failed to protect black communities. All right? I want you to see that. Protect black communities. The current moment requires a solution that fundamentally shifts how we envision community care and invests in our society. History is clear that we cannot achieve genuine safety and liberation until we abandon police, prisons, and all punishment paradigms. You want to abandon prisons and all of the punishment paradigms. Well, if you go here to download the bill, and this is on the breatheact.org, you'll come up with this. This is the PDF. Now this is interesting because I read to you that this is supposed to be about Black lives, and we'll get into this. Section 1, divesting federal resources from incarceration and policing and end criminal legal system harms. The bill would eliminate federal programs and agencies used to finance and expand the U.S. criminal legal system. All right. The Department of Defense, it's such, and of course they do it in such a way so that you read the headline and then you don't read the rest of it because that's what most people do, such as the Department of Defense 1033 program, the Edward Byrne Justice Assistance Grant Program, community-oriented policing services, the Drug Enforcement Administration, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The Immigration and Customs Enforcement? But what does that have to do with Black lives? Okay, well, the bill would ensure that non-punitive and non-carceral elements of these programs are identified so that they can be transferred to another funding source. Make recommendations to dramatically reduce the Department of Defense budget. The Department of Defense budget. I don't really have a problem with reducing the Department of Defense because I'm pretty anti-war, but again, what does that have to do with Black lives? Page 2. Directly make changes to the federal criminal legal system, including changes to the policing, prosecution, sentencing, and jailing practices. Okay, there's your headlines. Sounds wonderful. That have disproportionately criminalized Black and brown communities, LGBTQIA people, Indigenous people, and disabled people. I thought this was about Black lives. Now you're throwing all these other people in there? Specific changes include, but are not limited to, blah, 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 blah. Eliminating surveillance tactics that disproportionately used to target Black, brown, and Muslim communities by prohibiting predictive policing, facial recognition technologies, drones, and similar tools. Okay, whatever. Eliminating the use of electronic monitoring, including ankle monitors, smartphone applications, and other tools used to track location. But I thought you wanted to get rid of the prisons, but now you want to get rid of the electronic monitoring so that they can stay at home instead of in prison. It makes no sense. Ending civil asset forfeiture. Yeah, there's parts of that can go. Yeah, I can see that can go. Parts of it. Abolishing mandatory minimum sentence laws. Ending life sentences. Abolishing the 3 strikes law. Well, not the life sentences part, but the mandatory minimums and the 3 strikes law. Wasn't that the first Black president, Bill Clinton, that put that into act? Yeah. Oh, yeah, it was. It was. The darling of the Democrats, the Clintons. That's who put that in there, and now you're getting rid of it. which I think President Trump already pretty much did. He put some big gashes in that already. Developing a time-bound plan to close all federal prisons and immigration detention centers. Repealing federal laws that criminalize human movement and border entry. What does that have to do with black people that live here? I don't understand. This is supposed to be the Breathe Act because, they're using the meme, I can't breathe. They got T-shirts made up with I can't breathe on it. Oh, my God. Now they're throwing in immigration, border entry, further repealing the 1994 Violent Criminal Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act with non-carceral and non-punitive investments in communities. 1994. Who was president in 1994? Let me think. Was it Bush? No. Was it Reagan? No. Oh, yeah. The Clintons. Again. The darlings. Oh, you guys are so stupid. Let's see. Let's keep going on. Now, Section 2, investing in new approaches to community safety utilizing funding incentives. Create federal grant programs that incentivize create federal grant programs that incentivize decarceration and subsidize non-punitive community-led approaches to public safety. Such grants will make grants to local jurisdictions so that they can make and implement tailored plans. Incentivize state, tribal, and local governments to make specified changes to shrink their criminal legal system, and in return provide federal funding to non-punitive, non-carceral. It's saying the same thing over again. They don't want prisons. But somehow everybody's just gonna behave. I don't know. There's another one down here that I wanted to see. Transformative justice and healing transformative justice and healing justice programs. What is that? Can you explain that one a little bit more? What is a healing justice system program? Neighborhood meditation programs. Wow. Safe passage to schools programs. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Employment opportunities that benefit formerly incarcerated individuals. Like what? I mean, I do see a point in that if we had more job training in the prison system, so that when you got out, you could have some skills. I can see that. But who's going to set up these job programs for incarcerated individuals? Are we going to have a special government program so that when people get out of jail, they go right into these government jobs? And what are they going to do? And are those people going to have first dibs on those jobs so that people who don't cause trouble and didn't go to jail can't get them? Because that seems kind of unfair if you ask me. All right. Establish a grant to promote educational justice. Altering their school funding formula so that there is funding equity between schools. I thought we kind of already had that. But yet, these inner city schools are still stupid. This is a good one. Removing police, school resource officers, ICE probation, armed security, metal detectors, and other surveillance equipment and practices from schools. Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. But, you know, we won't give the kids a choice where to go to school. So if you got a shit school in the middle of the city and the unions are protecting the teachers and they're shit teachers and it's a shit administration, but the union is protecting all these people, we can't get rid of them and get better people in there to run these schools to make them better places. No. We force the kids into these schools and then remove all of the security that they have. So aren't these the same people that were complaining about school shootings and now they want to remove the police and armed security and surveillance equipment from the school? How is that going to help? Makes no sense. It makes no sense. This is the squad right here. This is the squad. Ilhan Omar, the horse face there, AOC, the bald chick there, and the other crazy one. I can't even remember her name. They're just unimportant to me. Oh, let's see. Providing free, high-quality health services at school and nearby student and family-focused centers, which services include reproductive body autonomy. What do we need reproductive body autonomy in a school for? Is that what school is for? Are we really worried about body autonomy in a high school or in a junior high? It's crazy. Modernizing, renovating, and repairing facilities used by public schools. Yeah, well, obviously you want to upgrade, but you know you can't just keep sucking money out of the suburbs to try to prop up the inner city schools. These inner city schools have to start fending for themselves too. But we can't do that because there's no taxes being collected in the inner city. And why is that? Because the taxes are too damn high and no businesses want to go be in the city because the taxes are so high, so that those businesses end up leaving, and then nobody in the inner city has a job because there is no jobs in the city. So the more you raise the taxes, the more businesses leave, the less jobs there are, the less taxes you collect. Huh. Funny how that works out. Let's see. You can go and read these all they're crazy. A lot of them are crazy. And it goes from page 1, including LGBTQIA alphabet person, to indigenous person, to disabled person, to brown people. It starts there, and then it just expands and expands and expands and expands, and it's not talking about black people whatsoever anymore. Now we're just talking about we get into green, into environmental. Establish competitive grant program to promote economic justice. Let's see, where's that other one? State funds to expand the affordable housing and supply. Change local zoning laws so as to allow multifamily unit construction and ban exclusionary zoning laws. Yeah, good. So you'll put you can ban the zoning laws so that your industrial base can be put right in the middle of a residential neighborhood, and all sorts of noise and yeah, that sounds good. Sounds like a plan. Let's see what else we got here. Holding officials accountable and enhancing self-determination of black communities. This is the one here, and it's all the way down to the bottom. So if you don't read all the way to the bottom, you're never going to see it. So this one is this is kind of where I always start. I always when people like this put this stuff kind of dribble out, I always go straight to the bottom and read the fine print, because that's where all the details are. That's where all the dirty little details are. Require Congress to acknowledge and address the lasting harms that has caused, specifically through passing H.R. 40, Commission to Study Reparation Proposals for African Americans Act. I'm not sure what that is. Establishing commissions that design reparations for mass criminalization, including the war on drugs. Okay, I'm against the war on drugs completely. The criminalization of prostitution. Yeah, I'm on the fence on that one. And police violence. Well, obviously, we don't want police violence. We have some bad apples we need to weed out and get rid of. That's what we need. Border violence and the systemic violation of the U.S. government's treaties obligation to the tribal nations. I don't know about that one, because I worked for the Indians. I worked for the United Nations. And we had to go through a orientation, and they had some of the tribal leaders come in. And one of the things he said was that in their treaty, they are given 25 cents worth of cloth. That's what he said. That's part of their treaty. That's what they receive every year from the government. 25 cents worth of cloth. Well, back in the 1800s, early 1800s, 25 cents worth of cloth could clothe a whole family. Now it's about a little 1x1 square. But you know what? Those guys still go get that 1x1 square from the government and pass it out to the entire nation, to the entire Oneida Nation. Everybody gets their 1x1 piece of cloth every year, because it's the Indians are that serious about holding up their end of the treaty and making sure that the government holds up their end of the treaty. Has it been always perfect? No, of course not. There's always been bad people who've come through. But those people usually end up dead or in jail or getting voted out of office. Or, hopefully. It's not always the case, but yeah, because he has told me some horror stories about the town water would run into the United Nations, and sometimes once in a while, if the Indians, they would shut the water lines off to the reservation. That was before, that was before all this other stuff, but that was like back in the 40s or 60s, 50s and 60s. But the Oneida Indians are now, they own half of central New York now, for Christ's sakes, because they built the casinos, and now they're doing great. They're doing great. I don't understand why a lot of these other indigenous tribes aren't doing the same thing. I don't understand why. I always thought it was great that they did that. Plus, I can get my cigarettes for cheap. So, anyways, here's the big one. Here's the big one right here. This is the one I was looking at, and it's all the way to the bottom of the page. Enfranchise all formerly and presently incarcerated people for state and local elections. Formerly incarcerated? I guess I could think we could change the law to be a little more specific on that. I think it's not just all formerly incarcerated. I think you had to have committed a felony. I think it's mostly felony convictions. You can't vote. You lose your right to vote. But most felony convictions are usually like a 10-year sentence anyway. So, but I mean, we can I can see reforming, and if when you do the time, you did the crime, you do the time, and you get out, you're done. That's it. I think you should be able to get your rights back. I do. Presently incarcerated people, no, absolutely not. You did the crime, you do the time. That's it. And most of the time, you know, a lot of these incarcerations are for nonviolent things, and then they go in, and then they end up in the system. They get out, they have a record, they can't get a job, blah 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 blah, and usually it's for some kind of stupid drug program. And so I don't think that that's okay. I think that needs to change. That's where I'm against the war on drugs. It's ruining a lot more people's lives. And then you got Clinton putting the mandatory minimums on it. On top of that, these people come out trained criminals, and then they just end up working their way up to a felony. A lot of them just work their way up to a felony. So here's the biggest one right here: allowing local and state residents voting for undocumented people. Yeah, I said it. I said it. Voting for undocumented people, illegal aliens. Letting illegal aliens vote. Yeah. I said it. I said it. I didn't read that wrong. It's right there. TheBreatheAct.org. You can go look at it for yourself. It's there. So this is what they didn't pass reform 3 weeks ago for. This piece of shit right here is what they didn't pass reform 3 weeks ago. Because the whole thing was for police reform. That's what the Black Lives Matter I thought was all about, was police reform. We needed to stop the bullshit. And like I said before, I kind of agree with the defunding the police thing a little bit, because they've gotten a little too militarized for my taste, and you know, I think that there needs to be some action taken there. But see, this is just crap. This is just crap. So, if you, we could have stopped this 3 weeks ago with Tim Scott. We could have at least got the ball rolling with Tim Scott. But they decided to wait, and this is the crap they give us. This is the garbage that they're putting out. I mean, there's stuff about Green New Deals in here and shit. There's stuff about environmental stuff. This is supposed to be about Black Lives Matter. This is supposed to be about, you know, making sure that every black kid has an equal opportunity in life. It's the same as it's the same opportunity that maybe a white kid would have, but not all white kids have that same opportunity either. So I don't understand the whole thing. I really don't understand the whole thing. But you know, I truly believe that little 8-year-old girl died for nothing. Died for nothing. Because we could have quieted these riots 3 weeks ago. Or at least started talking. So, anyway, that's it for today. Give me a subscribe, like I asked. Thanks for the support. See ya.